Hi. Hello, everyone. How y'all doing this evening? Hi. I'm going to go ahead and welcome some people into the room. Hello, hello. Hi. Good evening to everyone that is walking in the room and that's showing up. Hello, CTFO family members. If you are coming in the building, thank you for being here again. Hi, Gordon. Appreciate you showing up. Excuse me. Thank you for coming. I'm going to start at 7. I'm just giving people enough time to enter the room, into the live. So do me a favor. Hi, Cheryl. Thank you for joining. Be sure to share the feed as you're coming in. And there's also, for you newcomers or for anybody entering the live, there's a blue tab that will give everyone an option to get notifications when we go live. Be sure to hit that so you don't miss any lives that we may be doing in the future. So please do that. That helps us out a whole lot. Be sure to like the feed and everything like that for us. We appreciate that. That helps us grow as well. So how y'all doing this evening or morning, wherever you at? Where are y'all from? Everyone entering in the building, be sure to share the feed and also be sure to hit the tab when you come in. I'm going to start at 7. And thank you for showing up. Appreciate it. Appreciate it a whole lot. Virginia, nice. Are y'all having that crazy weather over there, Cheryl? I know our weather has been like so up and down and everywhere. Like we'll have 30s and 40s early in the morning sometimes, and then it will jump up to 75 or 80. It's crazy. We're not even in spring yet, but our weather is just sporadic everywhere. And then we have rain coming again, so it is I bet. I feel for those people that still going through all of that wind and that snow. Oh, I don't know what I would do if I had to get out every morning and dig myself out of the snow. People in the South, especially in Texas, it turns 60 and you see us with like fur coats and stuff like that and boots. So yeah, I can imagine. All right, guys, we got one more minute. All right. It's 7 o'clock. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna turn down the music so y'all can be able to hear me. Let me know if my voice is loud enough and if you can hear me after I turn down the music. Okay, guys, welcome to CBD Movement Talk Live, where we host the show every Monday through Friday. Either it's me, Latasha J, or Terry Lidge, who hosts on a different day. And we share with you health topics and solutions that can apply towards different types of illnesses you may have. Now, guys, on these lives, this is a disclaimer. We are not medical experts. We're not doctors or anything like that. Anything that we are saying is for educational purposes. So we just want to get that out of the way so that people understand that it is your responsibility for any information that you hear to go and do your research. Go to your responsible party to ask for any additional medical advice. Okay. So now that we got that out of the way, like I said before on CBD Movement Talk Live, we're here Monday through Friday, and it will be either one of us two hosts, and we share those topics. And we hopefully you can gain some value and just something that you can carry and take with you with other family members and relatives who might need that help. So today's topic is going to be on strokes. So I just want you to picture yourself right now, just sitting with a family member or a friend, or you may just be walking somewhere and you're just talking, or you see a person, whatever the case may be, and all of a sudden, one side of their face just goes limp, or they start talking funny. First, they was talking normal, and everything all of a sudden just sounds slow and sluggish and slurred. Guys, we are talking about people who are having symptoms of a stroke. And this can be very serious because what it is actually the clotting of the blood and no blood flow going to the brain. Okay, so when you have these clots in your blood and you end up having a stroke, you end up having a stop of circulation in your body. Okay, so you have that stop of circulation, you having a hard time to breathe, and you can go into a very, 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 very critical state. It takes only seconds between a person having stroke and getting those right medication and necessities to be able to survive and have a quicker recovery when they have stroke. So I'm about to go on to the information about it. It says here, stroke is usually damage to the brain due to interruption of blood supply that's caused by blocked arteries or the leaking or bursting of blood flow to the brain. Okay, guys. Now, when you have that problem, like I said before, all of your motor functions begin to act up because remember, the brain is like the call center for the rest of your body. So you have all of these arteries in your body that's carrying blood, and your blood is supposed to stay at a certain consistency. I don't know if you ever seen like a phlebotomist, a person that's drawing your blood, or they drawing somebody else's blood, and they have a hard time getting the blood to flow out because it's so thick. Guys, those are symptoms of people who have probably having clotting problems because their blood is so thick. And your blood is supposed to be at a certain consistency so that it does not clot. Your platelets does not clot. Okay. So it goes on. We're going to read about the statistics from the CDC about how many people have strokes and uh, how many deaths there are, etc. So the CDC says the stroke statistics show that 140,000 Americans people each year die from strokes. They end up getting killed from strokes. So that's 1 out of 20 deaths. Okay. And it says here, every 40 seconds, a stroke happens. So every 40 seconds, as we're standing here listening to this live, somebody somewhere is having a stroke. And every 4 minutes, someone dies of a stroke because they don't get that quick necessity of being able to get to an emergency or EMT. They don't get that help that they need in time. Okay, and it says here that 795,000 in a year are just having their first stroke, or just having symptoms of their first stroke within a year. And it says 610,000 people are first time stroke victims. People, that number is high, it's really high. And it says out of that, about 185,000 stroke victims have had repeated strokes before. So the 185,000 are repeated stroke victims. So they end up being more susceptible to having strokes again. Okay? So imagine having that anxiety of always looking over your shoulder when it comes to your health, of saying, hey, I might have a stroke again. Am I going to have a stroke today? Am I going to have a stroke in my sleep? Am I going to be able to wake up tomorrow? Am I going to have a stroke when I go to my grandkids' birthday party? Am I going to be okay today? So it's really a serious matter. And it says here 87% are most likely to deal with blood blockage to the brain. And that's one of the most severe type of strokes that you can have, is when you have clotting to the brain. Because now we're talking about possible permanent damage, to where even if you do come out of the stroke and you're resuscitated, you might have permanent motor skill damages. So we're talking about not being able to speak, always having that palsy on the face, which is drooping, not being able to walk properly again. Those are just some of the possibilities, because the brain is a very sensitive place. So when you start tampering with the brain and the brain starts getting damaged, you're talking about dealing with speech and motor skills, being able to move around. And once those areas are damaged and shut down, it's hard trying to get those areas to reactivate. And sometimes they don't end up reactivating after a stroke, when you go to get therapy and everything like that. Now it says, what type of race of people are most likely at higher risk of having strokes? It says here that African Americans are twice as more likely to die from strokes or be at risk for strokes than white Americans. Okay. Um, so the reason why for that, a lot of African Americans live in impoverished neighborhoods, so they're not able to have access to a lot of good nutrition, and there's not a lot of educational tools that teach us about nutrition in impoverished neighborhoods. And guys, it's not just blacks and whites that are affected by it. There's Hispanics, there's all other people all the way around the world that are affected by stroke symptoms. But it's just talking about in the US how the percentage is higher for African Americans. And that's just some of the reasons that I gave out why is lack of education on nutrition, lack of having resources, good grocery stores, that provide organic food, fresh fruit and vegetables, in their neighborhoods that they can have access to. Okay, so that makes a difference. Like I've told you in the last lives, for those who have been watching my lives, nutrition is everything. And it helps boost whatever you take in as far as with your supplements. Okay, it says here, stroke can occur at any age. So when you're talking about an age factor of, oh, when is the age where I can possibly have a stroke? Anyone can have a stroke at any age. That's crazy. But you're most likely to have a stroke. It showed here in the report that 34% was they saw people having a stroke that were less than 65. So you're starting to have people, even though it's getting better now, but at the time you had people 65 and under. You saw that increase of people having strokes that were 65 and under at 35%. which is just crazy. Let's talk about some of the symptoms of people having strokes. So when we talk about the symptoms, we're talking about trouble walking. That means having a steady gait. So all of a sudden that person is walking straight, or they're running correctly, jogging correctly. But when they have a stroke, all of that whole sensory of balance is thrown off. And it says here, your comprehension level of you understanding what's going on around you becomes blurred. So I'm disoriented. So at first you knew you was in the park, or you knew you was at home, or you knew you was somewhere else, and you just end up not knowing you at, or you're speaking something different because the brain function is off due to you in the process of having a stroke. And it says here, also you will experience paralysis. Remember I told you the drooping of the face. So you want to pay attention to these signs, people, because if you don't know what the signs are, um, it's going to be harder for you to understand what's going on with a person when you see them have this. Okay. So understanding these symptoms, you can be able to maybe catch your relative next time. If you think that they might have a stroke, you can know some of these symptoms, or a friend or somebody you may see passing by. You can be able to intervene. Okay. So it says here, paralysis of the face, numbness of the face, arms, and legs. So when you're having a stroke, remember that blood supply is cut off. So there is no circulation. So you're talking about paralyzing of the face, feeling numb in the face all of a sudden, fingers feeling numb, legs feeling numb, arms feeling numb, maybe on one side, numbness on one side of the arm. Okay. So let's break it down as far as muscular vision and everything what a person would experience having a stroke. So we talked about when we're dealing with muscular, that means the parts that make your body move and rotate. Difficulty walking, we talked about that. Instability, that means having a steady gait. Paralyzed or weak muscles, a weak sensation in your muscles in your body. Problems with coordination. So when we talk about problems with coordination, maybe you're talking to somebody and they're picking up a cup and they're drinking it, and all of a sudden, at first they was drinking the cup like this, but when that stroke hits, they may go like this, take it far away from themselves, and start setting it somewhere where it wouldn't normally be. It just looks odd. So your coordinating functions is off. Stiff muscles. Some people may experience intense stiffness of the muscles. Overactive reflexes. Okay, so when we talk about overactive reflexes, that's what I call tics. Tics in the face, maybe twitching of the eyes, stuff like that. Also, a paralysis to one side of the body. So a lot of times when you have a stroke, it's not all over per se. It's on either the left or the right side of the body. So always remember that a stroke is usually on the left or the right side of the body. So it affects the opposite side. The left is going to affect the right side. The right side is going to affect the left side. I bet you didn't know that. A lot of people think when you're having a stroke on this side, this is where the stroke has been caused. No, it's always the opposite side, people, that the stroke is affecting. So you have the stroke on the opposite side, but the symptoms show on the other side. It's just weird how the body operates when it does that. But a lot of people don't know that. They think, oh, you had a stroke where it's the palsy is. No, usually it's on the opposite side of the brain. Okay, so let's talk about visual. So a person that's having a stroke or stroke symptoms, they're going to have blurred vision, a double vision. That means seeing two of everything. Okay. Sudden vision loss. They may black out for a minute, seeing a dark vision, not seeing anything at all, like if they're going to black out. Temporary loss of vision in one eye. So maybe they can see out of the other eye, but the part where they're having the stroke at, where the stroke is going on, they can't see anything. So those are just some of the visual symptoms that a person may have with stroke. So when you're talking about the whole body, guys, are y'all getting this? Are y'all understanding what's going on? Let me know if you're still in the live and you're still in the chat and you can understand what's going on. Okay. Um, for those people who are dealing with that, they would have those type of uh, symptoms for visual. So let's move on to the whole body in general. You experience a lot of fatigue, and fatigue is just intense tiredness. So you'll feel exhausted all of a sudden to the max. It's not like what you would regularly feel like if you picked up a heavy box and you're like, oh, that's, that was heavy, I'm tired. It's not that type of exhaustion. A lightheadedness. So lightheadedness is more like almost going into severe dizziness, okay? But you just feel lightheaded, like you feel woozy. That's a better way to explain it. Let's talk about speech. Your speech is also affected for those people who have strokes. So, difficulty speaking, like I mentioned before, you're going to slur your words, or maybe you might say your words backwards. How about that? There's people that have said their words backwards or have spoken it in a different language due to a stroke. Yes. So, they may speak in an American tongue, but when they have their stroke, all of a sudden they're speaking British or they speaking in Japanese or something like that. That's just weird how the brain works. But they end up having those accents, those tones of an accent due to the stroke that they're having. So also loss of speech. So they may lose their ability to speak at all. Okay. So sensory, when we're talking about sensory, we're talking about touch, being able to feel. So we talked about this earlier, being feeling the sensation of numbness. But there's also some other experiences with a person who has a stroke when it comes to sensory, being able to touch. They may feel like uh, they're having a sensation of pins and needles, like something sticking them and pricking them, but it's not no real needles or anything that's sticking them. It's just their nervous system responding to the brain being in shock because of the stroke. So they may have a reduced sensation of touch, which is also dangerous because, for instance, let's say a person is having a stroke and it may be a mild one. Strokes may not always be severe, but what if it's a mild stroke and they end up losing the sensation of touch and they're by a gas stove or just a regular electric stove and they have their arm too close? Well, if that sensation of feeling is gone while they're having that stroke, guess what? They can get burned or they can catch fire. So that can be dangerous as well. And let's talk about facial, same thing, droopiness, weakness. When it comes to other symptoms that people may have with a stroke, you're talking about the ability to not be able to swallow. You may not be able to swallow anything. Headaches, inability to understand what's going on, mental confusion. Maybe somebody's telling you something and you're having a stroke, and at first you was able to understand them, and then all of a sudden you're blank, or you're not responding with a correct response to that answer or that question that you would do, or that would normally make sense. So that's when we talk about mental confusion. And of course, I told you about the tics that you may experience, which is rapid eye movement. Tics can be twitching of the cheek, twitching of the lip, um, and rapid eye movement. Okay. So that's nothing but the nerves just firing off, letting you know that something is wrong. Okay. So those are just some of the symptoms. We can go ahead and go into the medications. Now, when we're talking about the medications that A lot of stroke victims take end up taking afterwards, even during the process of just them trying to save their life. You're talking about medications that a lot of times end up having side effects. So I'm gonna go into some of the medications that people take that have strokes, and then I'm also going to go into the side effects, and then we're going to go into um, the proper diet and what to avoid to be able to prevent you having strokes and maintain a healthy life if you have had a stroke. Okay. So there are some medications that people take, such as Altapaz. Alteplase is a it breaks up the clots that are blocking the normal flow of in the blood vessels. So basically, Alteplase is a type of medication that allows the platelets to not stick together, the blood platelets to not stick together. So then you have blood thinners that a doctor may give you. So when we're talking about blood thinners, we're talking about like stuff like cumulin, all of that type of stuff that that they give you to help keep your blood at the right consistency. So it helps prevent blood clots from forming and helps dissolve existing clots. So it keeps the blood thinners keep your body from clotting, and if there happens to be a clot, it helps break it down. Okay, so then you have other medications that fall into statins, which decreases the liver production of harmful cholesterol. So it helps fight the cholesterol content that your body ends up having that can cause you to have strokes. Because remember, when you have a cholesterol buildup in your body, guess what? You're going to have most likely be able to have more heart attacks and strokes. So it helps with that. Then we have hypertensive drugs. You know that if your blood pressure or you have an elevated pressure, blood pressure, you can end up having a stroke. So you have what is hypertensive drugs, which helps lower the blood pressure that the doctor will most likely probably give you as well. Then you have ACE inhibitors, which relaxes the blood vessels. Because a lot of times when people have, especially like an enlarged heart and everything like that, your body and your blood vessels is working twice as hard. So they end up giving you a medication to sort of calm all that down. Okay, and it also helps lower blood pressure as well. Okay, and it's also helps prevent in sugar related kidney damage as well. So that's just some of the medications that they give you. But of course, they come with side effects. Okay, so when we're talking about these side effects, we're talking about any medicine that they give you and you start feeling sick due to what they have given you from Big Pharma. Okay, so a lot of these medicines that are antiplatelets and anticoagulants, which means they keep the blood from sticking, end up causing you to bleed easy. These are some of the side effects: easy bruising, stomach upset, pain, and nausea. How many times have you seen a person either in a nursing home or a relative that you know that's on blood thinners, and all of a sudden they've been taking it for so long that their skin is so thin that if they just bump up against something, they can end up having a real bad, what we call skin tear, and end up having all this blood running around that's hard to stop because they're on blood thinners. Or they'll have these red looking blood see through patches. It's hard to see it on dark skin, but on a person with lighter skin, you'll begin to see like these little coagulated blood blotches everywhere, all over, from taking these blood thinners. And not to mention having that stomach upset and the pain and nausea is just bad enough, especially nausea. Nobody wants to have that. So then you have the SSRIs, which, when given to you for stroke prevention and heart attacks, you end up having nausea, drowsiness, anxiety, and restlessness. And anxiety causes you to be jumpy all the time, pretty much all the time. And then with the restlessness, if you're having restlessness, when it's time for you to sleep and you have taken these medications, you're not going to sleep properly. So that's not going to help you at all. And then, of course, the nausea again is not great. And if you're driving and you have to do other things, if you're having drowsiness, guess what? That's going to be put on hold. Whatever your tasks are for the day are going to be put on hold because you're not going to want to get out there and be irresponsible, having drowsiness, deep drowsiness symptoms. Okay, so then we're talking about the side effects of blood pressure meds, the coughing, the diarrhea, which are light symptoms, the constipation, nervousness, feeling jittery, nervousness for no reason. You're not even a nervous person, but because you're on these um, blood pressure meds, now all of a sudden you're nervous, because of how the meds are interacting with your body. Headaches and severe dizziness are some of the chronic symptoms. And the reason why they place it as chronic is because you can end up falling and hurting yourself, or dizziness, you can end up blacking out and hurting yourself. So that's why they say it's chronic. People that end up on these blood pressure meds, a lot of times their blood pressure will drop even low or too low, or when they get up, it causes their blood pressure to drop low, and they end up blacking out, or they end up getting confused, dizzy, and they end up hurting themselves. So with statins, you have let's see, muscle weakness, tiredness. Statin type medications, you end up having weakness, muscle weakness, tiredness, soreness, pain. And for people who have elevated levels in sugar, these type of medications, statins, can actually increase your sugar levels. So how many times have you heard um, your your grandmother or somebody else that that's taking these medications that fall in the statin category, and they may have that sugar problem, and they're saying, hey, every time I take this medication, I'm noticing that my sugar jumps up. Well, that's because statins, that's the side effects of it. That's what it do. So that's bad as well, because guess what? If your sugar gets too high, you can stroke out as well. So that's a catch 22. So let's talk about nutrition. When we're talking about nutrition, we're talking about what foods to avoid and what foods you should replace in your body that is healthy for you, so that you can be able to live a longer life and or have a better recovery. So you're going to find out some interesting facts. I love talking about nutrition and talking about foods that can help you with certain illnesses, because it's interesting at what food can actually do to actually alleviate some of the problems that you have in your body. So some of the foods that you want to stay away from, of course, foods that are saturated in fat, dairy, red meats, processed foods, refined sugars, even palm oil and coconut oil, because it's a saturated fat. I was shocked by the coconut oil. I thought the coconut oil would help, but I guess it's one of those catch 22s. So you have to be careful with that. If you're a person who likes to consume coconut oil, some people, they actually take coconut oil and use it as a laxative, so it's been known to help with that. But if you are a person who has to watch out for saturated fats, you definitely want to cut back on the coconut oil or not use it at all. So let's talk about foods that actually help you. So we're talking about chia seeds, Seeds and nuts actually help. The omega 3s help in recovery with stroke victims and prevention. Okay, so that helps out a lot. Salmon, flax seeds, hemp seeds. Yes, hemp seeds, egg yolks, beans. Now, beans, I'm going to tell people now who don't know, beans is also a catch 22. So if you're a person who loves to make a lot of beans, fresh dried beans, remember that it has some type of acid called, I think it's lactic acid in it, that actually can destroy your intestinal gut. Yes, but especially those people who have gut sensitivity. So, what people usually do who eat a lot of beans and have that gut sensitivity, what makes that acid very weak in those beans is to soak them very well. Double soak them as much as you can. Keep taking off that starchy water that comes with the beans and just re-soak them and re-soak them and re-soak them. The less of that acid that's in there, the less problems you're going to have with having digestive issues and that eating up your intestinal gut. So I would do research on about that. That's just the interesting fact when it comes to beans. I know a lot of people eat beans and they're like, "What?" But it's true. It's actually true. Beans can actually help destroy your intestinal gut if they're not soaked properly due to that type of acid. So, moving on, it says here egg yolks, chia seeds, everything that's with omega 3s. Also, what's good for speedy recovery and to help you think faster. This is a fun fact. Avocados. Avocados is great for people who have had strokes, especially when it comes to cognitive function. That means being able to think of what you're doing and thinking of what you're saying and thinking about what you're going to speak about. That's called cognitive function. Being able to move your hand and saying, I'm going to move it to this spot. Thinking on your actions, cognitive function. Um, Avocados is great with that. And another thing that was surprising that was in the fruit family is blueberries. Blueberries, people who have stroke, they should take a lot of fresh blueberries and eat them because it helps with stroke recovery. Believe it or not, it helps with stroke recovery and it helps boost cognitive function and brain function. So it'll help with speedy recovery or possible positive recovery in stroke victims because of the oleic acid. It helps with the oleic acid, which helps with cognitive function, which helps with the process of you thinking and reacting. Okay, so take lots of blueberries, ante up on avocado if you can stand it, the taste of it. So that helps out a whole lot. I thought that was very interesting. So then there's a diet that really targets for recovery of stroke victims. It's called the mind diet. I'm pretty sure people have not heard of this. Probably some stroke victims have probably heard of this. But it's called the mind diet. And the mind diet, it goes directly to anything as dark leafy green to help ante up and boost your recovery as a stroke victim. Okay, so we're talking about the mindset diet is anything that's green, green leafy vegetables, and all other dark colored vegetables, berries, nuts, olive oil, whole grains, fish, beans, poultry, and wine. Wine is also, I believe it's like 8 ounces or a tincture of wine. It's not talking about 2 glasses or three people, just, half a glass of wine. Believe it's red wine that helps with that. actually helps with stroke victims and their recovery. So, just something to know about what can help you in your process of being able to recover from a stroke and things that you can do to help prevent a stroke most likely from happening. Okay, so this is just some research that I want to share with you. It's educational. I encourage everyone to be doing their due diligence and researching um, about ways you can prevent a stroke. We do have supplements, guys, that you can use that helps with that. So it's called CBD oil, and we have CBD oil infused products that you can be able to purchase that will help you with certain health issues that you are having. Okay, so let's read what CBD can do for strokes. So from the EN Doc article, medical article, it says here that a person who has a stroke that uses CBD oil for recovery will not only it would not only prevent the onset of a debilitating symptoms of a stroke or cardiac arrest, which is heart attack, but it also inhibits the inflammation by interacting with the receptors in the body. So it helps prevent inflammation and possible stroke symptoms that you may have. So that's great to know that CBD oil can be able to do that for you. But the sad part is not all CBD oil is created equal. So, guys, I just want to let you know that the products that we carry in our CBD oil is GMP certified. It's cruelty free, which means it's not tested on animals in order to make our CBD oil. It's GMO free, which means the plants are not genetically modified, and it's made in the US of A. So I hope that you like the live and everything that I shared with you today. Does anyone want to get on and share just, I'm going to put a number in the comments. Share any experiences that you have had using CBD oil for stroke related symptoms and possible recovery that you may have had with using CBD oils. I'm going to leave a number here where people can call in. And that is 364-4708. If anybody wants to call in, I'm giving them time to call in and just share their experiences with the CBD oil with the stroke, or just sharing what you have experienced using the CBD oil for anyone that's out there. And that's the 210 area code 364-4708. So, guys, I thought that was just interesting as I was sharing some of the research about blueberries being a power factor. People underestimate a lot of fruits that's out there that they see every day, and you can either intake fresh blueberries, or you can have it where it's infused in juices. So, you want to definitely put blueberries in your diet if you're not doing it already, or increase your intake of blueberries, especially if you know you're having heart symptoms and heart problems, you've been diagnosed with that. Add blueberries to your diet. That will help you a whole lot. You know, I'm not saying it's a cure all, but I'm saying that it can help you in the process with your health, being able to stay healthier for a longer period of time. So that was interesting. And the avocados, once again, the avocados having that factor, being able to help you think faster. So I love avocados. I put it on just about everything. People usually make it for guacamole or they chop it up in a salad or whatever the case may be. But I use it. You can even make avocado pudding, which is a vegan pudding for those people that don't know. And that stuff is delicious. But being able to have the avocado as a mood booster, it does a lot of things. It has omegas in it. It's a good, healthy fat. So I can imagine why it can make you feel so good and make your brain feel so good that it allow you to think faster and have that good cognitive function. So that's interesting. Well, we don't have any phone calls, but I definitely want to thank you for being on this live here at CBD Movement Talk Live and being on the live and just listening to just the health topics and the medications and everything that I was sharing in this broadcast um, on strokes so that you can be more aware. Now that you know some of the things that you need to look out for when you're interacting with people, just looking out for the signs. If they say that they're experiencing all of a sudden, pins and needle type feeling, or you see some droopiness or twitching in the eye all of a sudden, that you know them, that that's not normal. Or you see somebody that's walking straight and all of a sudden their gait is off, or they're falling or limping or they can't talk. All of those signs could be possible stroke symptoms, and you can go ahead and help that person have a speedy recovery by interacting, getting there on time, being able to know what to do, and take those steps. For those people who don't know what to do, which everybody should know what to do, when you see a person with signs of a stroke, be sure to immediately call 911. Call 911. I know they tell you to take a baby aspirin when you have strokes. That's something that you choose to do. Always check with your doctor on that part. But definitely call emergency. No CPR. That's another great key to the game. Everyone, whether you're in the medical field or not, should be able to um, know CPR, know how to do it. And if you say, well, I can't afford to go to the class, guys, there are classes or training videos on how to do CPR on YouTube. Yes, on YouTube, and they're medical professionals. There's some medical professionals on there that hold classes on YouTube, and they share uh, those techniques on how to do CPR, which is a very valuable skill to have so that you can know how to save your family and buy them some more time, to buy your friends some more time, to buy people who you may see out and about that may need help. And you're the person that knows CPR, you could be that couple of seconds or minutes between life and death for them with CPR. So, guys, with that being said, yes, Cheryl. Thank you so much, everyone who has joined us live. I hope you have a wonderful Monday and continue to enjoy your evening, your night, wherever you're at, or if it's happen to be morning time for you, morning time, if you're watching this broadcast, take care and thank you for watching CBD Movement Talk Live. Y'all take care and have a great one.